Black and white as a medium is used very much in videos these days, especially in the new David Bowie one. Artists in the turn of the century had this thing called Fauvism, and they believed that everything could be said with loud colour. Here in a blaze of colour is Miss Blaze of Colour herself, Paula Yates. Tell us about this next video that we're going to see, this world premiere.
The next thing that we're going to see is, of course, the world premiere of the new David Bowie video, which comes from the film Absolute Beginners, which you see running through the entire video like a waterfall, so to speak.
It's quite impressive the world got changed so quickly, because this is a live show, of course, isn't it? Well, that's show business.
I think there's been a trend with musical films to use music and exciting video-type visuals to cover up a weak story, rather than being ingenious and take the advantage that you can commission a song to work particularly for that scene and that script, to make the music and the film work together, rather than just say, here we have a scene, let's put a hot pop group, plaster it over it to make it more exciting. That's the easy... There's no work or discipline involved in that. It's much harder to go to someone like David Bowie and say, here's this script, there's this scene which is very interesting, dramatic elements in it, this happens to this character, that happens here, we're trying to say this about this character and this point of the story, and the song needs to bring that out, and the music needs to emotionally highlight that, and then David goes away and writes a killer song that does all that work.
It was really like working from a given draft. This is what we want you to do, and we had to supply the goods that way. So it's written, I think a lot of, I don't know, I would guess with some of the American musicals that the songs are written first and the story's kind of woven around the songs. That's the way they feel when you see them. But this one was definitely, the songs are tailor-made for the movie.
Live up to that kind of memory of the 50s as being a mad aesthetic.
Yeah, there's a lovely parody of the 50s dance things. Kelly Astaire kind of thing. More Kellys, more 50s really than Astaire, I think. Called That's Motivation, which is a real big number in the old tradition. I think that's a joy. It's got every prop we could think of in it. And we dance off everything from typewriters, worlds, aeroplanes and all that.
What's Bowie the actor like to work with?
He was fine. I mean, I really enjoyed working with him. He was a really quite unassuming character in a way. He's just very disciplined about his work. I think he's not so much, a lot of people were saying, what's he like? He must be, I think, really highly of himself. I don't care. That was never apparent to me, really. I mean, all he was concerned with was setting a certain standard of work and being very disciplined and in his reaction, in his approach to the work. And I thought he was really easygoing to work with. He wasn't at all pretentious or anything. He's a very nice man to work with.
Very accurate as far as I can see. It may be over-enhanced, the characters and the situations, but they're rooted in a very strong social and racial upheaval that happened in the late 50s. The Notting Hill Gates riots were indicative of everything that's happening today. It was the era of the slumlords, American commercialism and consumerism first taking a grip over Britain. Money seemed to be something the English were going to start having, and yet at the other end of the scale, money was something a lot of the Brits just weren't seeing. So it was the sudden division in London specifically. And I don't know, I guess it was happening in other cities in England too. It's not a character that I care for too much, Vendi's Partners. It was kind of easier to deal with him because it sort of fooled around with him an awful lot. It's the same kind of pompous kind of character that you find in advertising. I worked for a short while when I left school for about 6 months as an artist in an advertising agency. And I absolutely loathed it. Most of the people, especially the execs, you know, and there was this fluctuating between an English and American accent that I thought would be a good way to portray Vendi's Partners. Sort of a naive idea of what the American way of life. It was just happening, you know, in England in the 50s. And I think that was sort of very influenced by the American way of doing things. So he goes in and out with American accent all the time. Not very successful.